Free webinar this Thursday night, how to become a better electronic music maker, how to finish more tracks that sound like you. If you want to join, link below, 8 p.m. UK time Thursday night. And yeah, follow me on Instagram, ZOiD999. I never say that. Why don't you head over there and follow me? Why not? Hello, it's Zoid. Welcome to another video on Zoid's YouTube channel. And guess what? I've upped my game with some lighting and also recording through a different microphone. So, you know, does it sound good? Does it look good? Let me know. I am going to make better videos for this channel. I'm going to churn them out. I'm mad for it. Come on. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is something that is every freaking where you look, and it's talk about AI. And yeah, here I am also talking about it, piling another video on the masses of videos out there talking about it. And man, I am a big proponent of Ted Gioia's thinking. Ted Gioia is a writer, one of the surely the best living music writer. When I was 18, I read his book History of Jazz when I was studying jazz, and it's a great, really good book. Ted Gioia went on to write a lot of different books, and then he started a Substack a few years back, which I started following, and he writes about technology and philosophy and music. He's very knowledgeable. He's a great writer. Highly recommend his Substack, link in the description. And he writes about AI, of course, sometimes, and a movement that he calls New Romanticism, which it's like the romantic movement after the Enlightenment and after the industrialization in the 1800s. There was this kind of backlash happened in society against this hyper-rational worldview at the time, which was like machines and industrialize and make everything, you know, very profitable, and like, let's do whatever we can to advance society technologically, and that was like back then, which is very much what's happening now again. It's like, you know, the technological control of our society is reaching an extreme, and I feel there's a backlash against it, and so does Ted Gioia, and so does many, many people. So, you know, I don't want to use AI. I don't want to make my life easier, especially when it comes to making music and making art. I just want to get in the mud and play and do human things and, you know, feck away my phone and not look at the internet and just like play my guitar and make electronic music like that too. Electronic music, it's always been really tightly interwoven with technology. It wouldn't exist without computers. Whether you use a computer or not, there's a computer in your Octatrack, there's a computer in your hardware sequencer. We're using silicon chip based technology to make music. If you make electronic music, no matter what you make it on. So, and there's always been that divide where like so-called real musicians were wary of, oh, they're not real musicians. That's always been happening right from the beginning, even though you had like Herbie Hancock playing synths and, you know, Wendy Carlos and whoever. It's clearly not a valid argument. You know, I feel the same about DJs as well. As an aside, I mean, when I was growing up, 13, 14, playing guitar, learning jazz and interacting with musicians like that, students like that, and some of our teachers and people wouldn't understand how DJing is like as valid an art form as jazz sax playing or, you know, guitar playing or whatever. So I've always come across that view, but I've always seen the folly of it as well, because, you know, one of my best friends at the time, Alan Dobbin, who introduced me to electronic music and DJing, he was like a completely just genius DJ. He bought records, searched for records, listened to the records, arranged the records, sequenced the records, and he made these sets and mixtapes and played these sets in clubs and at parties that elevated that art form to its highest level that I've seen. I've been to a lot of events and heard a lot of DJs, but those sets from Alan Dobbin, there was something about them. And what it was it was the thousands upon thousands of hours of practice that he put into it. Tens of thousands of hours, just all he did all day long for many, many years. And when I think about like what makes a jazz musician great, someone, let's say just someone who's like able to play bebop really well. They've spent tens of thousands of hours learning all this vocabulary. They learn the language of bebop, all the intricate phrases and melodies, and they're able to, come up with their own. Basically, they can play a bebop tune and they can improvise over the changes and come up with their own version of it that sounds authentic and genuine and like themselves. And with DJing, it's kind of similar, where a DJ kind of absorbs thousands upon thousands of different pieces of music in their mind, and then they're able to form something new out of it, which is very much them. I think if you were able to calculate it, you'd probably find that it takes the same amount. I don't know what the amount is, but the same, not the amount of hours, but the same amount of different directions that you could go in order to be able to forge your own voice in it and be a master of it. So, when I went to the Kitchen nightclub and heard Alan Dobbin DJing, it was, he was standing there. He had a very kind of serious demeanor and absorbed and internal. He was an introvert, and he wasn't a kind of DJ who was like going, woo, like he just basically, if there was nobody in the club, he would look exactly the same. He was just focused on what he was doing, mixing his records, and I felt listening that the music was emanating from him. Okay, he hadn't made the music, he'd found the music, but that's the same thing, because nobody in there would have heard that music unless he selected it at that moment and in that order and brought us on that journey. So I knew from those early experiences that whether you're a DJ or a producer or a composer or a musician, it's just all aspects of the same thing, expressing something in yourself. And back to what we're doing now with AI, we're limiting our ability to express ourselves if we reach for something that makes things easier, makes things quicker, makes things less like ourselves. If we don't make the mistakes and struggle, we're not going to find our voice. What voice do you want to find? Do you want to find your own voice, or do you want to find some other polished, good, like Suno version of something else's? No, you don't want to find, just my advice to you is, if you see those ads for Suno, or do not engage, read them, just click on the thing and say I'm not interested, and just ignore that. The people will be into it, let them do it. But if you want to make music, you want to make art, you want to find a voice, you want to be a human, just keep doing what you're doing, making music with technology, but you're making the decisions. This Brian Eno has done a lot of interesting things, and Autechra, and a lot of people, where they create programs and machines that generate sounds. And what's the difference between that and Suno? Well, there's a massive difference, because they created their own machine, and they didn't start going, you use it. They didn't start selling to people going, you use it. I've created this. It will make music. They wrote their own algorithm, their own program that generates sounds in a way that's interesting to them, and it was unique to them. So that was a good example of them using technology to make music that sounds like no one else but them. Many people have done that, and it's a totally valid, cool way to go. but they are not mass producing something that works for everyone. There's no such thing as like, create something that makes it easy and you press a button and it happens. There's just no such thing. So I'm going to leave it there. That's my video. What do you think of my new lighting setup? And yeah. All right. I've got a membership. I've got a free webinar this Thursday night. I forgot to even mention that. Free webinar this Thursday night, how to become a better electronic music maker, how to finish more tracks that sound like you. If you want to join, link below, 8 p.m. UK time Thursday night. And yeah, follow me on Instagram, ZOiD999. I never say that. Why don't you head over there and follow me? Why not? All right. See you in another video.